Okay, welcome to Rockmommy Talks. Today we are here with Anna Wilson and Monty Powell of Troubadour 77. Hi, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, it's great to be here. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, you bet. Glad to be here.
So, let's get right into it. Well, where are you right now, like physically in the
We
world?
are in Colorado. The ski hill is just right out the door, and it's finally snowing because the West hasn't had much snow this winter, but it is snowing, and I've worn my snow sweater to try to inspire a snow dance.
Oh my God, we are so sick of snow here on the East Coast. Like it's a different scenario. As you being from Pennsylvania, I'm sure you've heard. We're like we have like 3 feet of snow that won't melt.
Yes, it's cold, I hear.
Yeah, it's definitely cold. Okay, so I want to get into the good stuff. I know you have some good stuff going on now, but like most people do not know that you guys are Nashville legacy, that you have some awesome accomplishments. But I have to admit, as long as I've known you guys for a couple decades, I didn't realize, Monty, you got your start writing an Allstate jingle. Well, that's what Wikipedia tells me. So I need to know about how that happened and then how you got to Nashville like right after that, and then all the good stuff happened.
Sure. I actually went to college in Nashville to be an attorney, and then discovered that there was such a thing as the music business. Like, I didn't even know that existed. Like, you could really do it as a career path and not just have a talent scout show up, or all the things that we were told in the 60s. So I was in Nashville already, and I got a gig literally selling, not writing, jingles for an advertising company. And it was during that time that I was like, I think I could actually write these things. And so I was given an opportunity, and one of the first things that I was a part of was an Allstate commercial that played on the Super Bowl back in the days when they used to say it cost $1 million to have an ad on the Super Bowl.
Now it costs $1 billion.
Yeah, it's funny. I know, like $1 million has chump change. Yeah.
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 Oh my God. And that was sort of a tipping point for you. And meanwhile, Anna, you were in Pennsylvania. When did you get to Nashville?
I came to Nashville in 1993, right out of college, like 15 days after I graduated.
So were you like bright-eyed, like I'm gonna make it in country music?
Oh yeah, I had all illusions of grandeur.
That's so cool. So country was your first love, or was it? I know you love jazz and you love a lot of things, but was that your first love?
You know, I think it was a kind of simultaneous love. I mean, I would say probably my first love and first introduction was kind of jazz music and the Great American Songbook, because my mom would play her piano in the living room all the time, and I would hear all these great old songs by Rodgers and Hammerstein and Irving Berlin, and so
Right.
I really kind of started with that. But then as I started getting a little older, like, in junior high and high school, my sister really got into country music, and so I started listening to that. And so I think I kind of grew up with them, kind of this duality, like alongside of each other. And when it came time to kind of come of age and really try to do music for a living, I was like, I thought country music at the time in 1993, it was like a melting pot. Everybody was going there, and the 90s country thing was happening. I was like, oh, I'll go try that, And then of course I went to Nashville and I became a jazz artist. So kind of a weird, long and winding road, to
I love hearing how everyone spent the 90s. What?
What's that?
Sorry, what were you saying, Monty?
Oh, I was just going to say, make a note that my next band, the name is going to be Simultaneous Love.
Oh my God, simultaneous love. I was going to say serendipitous love, but I love simultaneous love. So I want to talk about what the scene was like in Nashville in the early 90s, in addition to when you met, but what, was it, did you feel like the world was your oyster? Because when I look at things today, and I do want to get into how things have changed, it's like night and day in terms of, it feels cutthroat. But I feel like back then it didn't feel that way. It felt more accessible.
Yeah.
Well, for sure. Nashville was a small town, back in the 90s. Not anything at all like what it is now. It also was geographically all in one place, so there was a sense of community. Music Row, where literally where all of the country music that was ever created came from, pretty much, was no bigger than the size of college campus. And so everyone worked on these two streets, 16th and 17th Avenue, and every little house had been converted to a publishing company or a recording studio. We had our local watering holes and local happy hours and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So there was a real community sense there, and people, because the industry was exploding, it was okay to root for other people. There were plenty of opportunities for everyone. And so there was a real sense that, you know, all ships would rise as the tide rose. That has completely changed now, 180 degrees. Now everyone is isolated in their own home studios. There is no common music row sort of a thing. And the industry has been so compartmentalized, and the monetization of songs in particular has dropped by 1,000%, that there is scarcity, and so people have a much more cutthroat, you know, approach to it than they used to.
Yeah.
You just
How
make
did
me
you?
sad.
But, I want to ask, but back then, I remember I didn't meet Anna right away. We were second cousins. But the first I ever heard of you, my dad was like, "You have this cousin, Anna Wilson. She wrote a song for Reba McIntyre." And I since I told you I grew up with punk and grunge, that wasn't on my radar, but I thought it was cool. I don't know if you knew your full story, but how did you land those big artists back then? And we'll get to now, but like that's still
Sure.
really rad. Not
Thank you.
talent.
Well, a lot of it, I think, did have to do with what Monty just said. There was just much more opportunity and lanes for having your songs heard. And when I moved to Nashville in 1993, right after college, I kind of was there for a couple years, networking, meeting people. But I sort of, quickly after 2 years got a publishing deal. And what that was back then was they paid you to write songs, like from 9 to 5. It was your job. You went in Monday through Friday. You wrote songs every day, collaborated with other songwriters, and you had a person at your company called a song plugger. And they would take your songs once you wrote them and demoed them, and they would fan them out to all the artists and the producers and the managers on those two streets that Monty was referencing. And so the sort of math that was involved of it happening every day, all day long, inside this very tight-knit community, it really did raise your chances of getting your songs heard by enough people that, you could get a Reba McIntyre cut or a Brooks and Dunn cut or Billy Ray Cyrus or all these artists that were exploding at the time, And then, of course, we were writing together a lot. And Monty was producing a band called Diamond Rio. So he was a producer. So he was in the studio all the time with the artist. So once you could get your songs to, people like Monty who were in that kind of position, you even had more chance of getting heard. But right now, as Monty was pointing out, everyone's just making records in their bedroom, or their home studio, and it's all very like cliquish. Like if you're in the Carrie Underwood group, or if you're in the Keith Urban group, or if you're, and everybody really guards those sort of cliques, and the notion for just the best song that's out there on the street is gone.
Yeah.
The best song does not get recorded. The best song in the clique gets recorded. And it's really hard to break into those things. Yeah.
I still remember watching this movie Coyote Ugly. And the girl, she's a bartender and she goes home and writes a song and sends the demo tape. And that's like this romantic image I have in my head. How did you guys meet though? Like, I think like when you talk about like serendipity, like the timing was literally, it could not be more perfect for you guys.
It was good. I mean, you have the perfect quote of how we met.
We met backstage at a concert in the rain, the way everybody meets.
It was a Diamond Rio concert. As I mentioned, he was their producer, and at the time, I was their publicist. So we had reason to be backstage on behalf of the band because they were playing a show at a big shed venue outside of Nashville. And we just kind of were working with the same band and randomly met backstage and started talking about all things music business and songs and who was who. And
what was your first date? What was your first date? Do you remember?
Songwriting session. We said, "Oh, you want to write a song?" You know, that was a pretty good pickup line back in 1993 in Nashville.
I don't know. I mean, there's this hot producer. Like what?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That replaced the 1960s version of "You want to come upstairs and see my etchings." So.
For me, it's like guys would be like, "Do you want to see a G chord?" And now I'm like, "No, I need the Phrygian mode, and maybe some." Oddly shaped jazz chords in an interesting progression. But every woman's different.
I love that.
Yeah,
that's great.
So demanding.
That's
these
great.
days.
But yeah, we met backstage. We wrote a song. Went out to dinner during that songwriting session, and one thing then we wrote another song. That was like our second date.
Did you have a musical about this whole thing? What? Sorry, what, Monty? You had a musical about this.
Songwriting dates for like a long time.
Oh my God. What did you have, wine or coffee or neither? Was there?
We had G chords.
Yeah, there you go.
G chords.
Alternative G chords.
Alternative G chords.
Those probably really got your blood boiling.
Nothing Phrygian at all.
Yeah. Actually, as they say in country music, we had 3 chords in the truth. Yeah. That's a big catchphrase.
That G chord can be pretty powerful. I mean, you've got this beautiful woman. What was it about that G chord, Anna?
Well, God. I think when the G string broke on his guitar, that was the real way in. I'm kidding.
Oh. And then you had sympathy.
Yes.
Oh my God. You
yes,
guys, how long have you been married? You guys are the cutest. You've been married how long?
25 years.
25 years, yeah.
Yep.
25 years. That's amazing. So you started Troubadour 77. You've been writing together forever and raised 2 daughters. This band, I think it happened, what is it, 10 years that you've been doing this?
Yes, very good. Yeah. We started it back in 2016.
And you had a big festival. You had like a huge lineup with like some massive artists.
We did. Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Emmylou Harris, Rodney Crowell, David Pack from Ambrosia,
Sean
Colvin, Billy Dean,
Troubadour 77.
There you go, Troubadour 77.
Yeah, obviously Troubadour 77, the best one.
Yeah, it was a great festival. We started it. It was in the mountains of Utah, where we used to live. We have now moved to Colorado, but it was at Snow Basin Ski Resort and Ogden. Which is a town just, outside of Salt Lake. And it was really great. And then it got a little hampered because of the COVID pandemic. And that really kind of killed it. We were gaining some momentum and it sort of, it crushed a little bit of the momentum.
It did sort of do any of that. It crushed
it did.
Our music festival like it did so many other people's tours and things. I mean, we were going on tour as Troubadour 77 the spring of 2020. And
to support our record,
had to cancel 6 months of touring, and it just never came back.
Yeah, which has happened for a lot of artists. So we pivoted, and we converted the band to a duo from that, because at that point everybody was we couldn't be a band, and so we pivoted and we went to this Americana duo concept. Which really, streamlined things and actually, in some ways, made it more focused and easier. And so that's what we're doing now. And we have a brand new single out. It's our first single in 6 years. It took a while for us to kind of a lot of crazy other creative projects we've been working on. So we just released it. So
what is this single called? Tell us about it.
It's called Boxes. Why don't you tell them a little bit about Boxes and where it started and how old it is and how it came around?
Yeah, quite an old song. The song is probably 15 years old, and we wrote it with another lovely songwriter, in Nashville. It was just one of those random, hey, let's write a song, not targeted at all for anyone in particular, or certainly not foreseeing 10 years later us having, an Americana duo and it matching the times and matching us, but it did. And during COVID, we started doing what a lot of people were doing, and that's, Zoom concerts. We would play in our basement, we would broadcast it out, and everyone was doing meetings, and everyone was in boxes on their computer, just like we are now. We're in a box, and you're in a box.
Yeah, it's
it just made us think of that song, which is about how we compartmentalize our lives to our own detriment sometimes. And so we pulled that song back out, and we made the record on it, and we felt like that it was really timely at the time. And we sat on it for a while because there's no reason to release something now or not release it later. The world has completely changed. There is no schedule for when you make a record or release something. So we just felt the time was right now to kind of put this message out into the world.
You say compartmentalize. I want to drill down a little bit. Like, what was sort of the thought? Like, I've noticed people, not just metaphorically the boxes, like on the screens, but like, how do they compartmentalize aspects of their life in a way that they didn't maybe used to do that?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Or have we always?
In some ways, I think people have always done that. I think that's the human condition, for survival at some level. And like we said, we wrote this song, really, I think it was actually 20 years ago. It's maybe 20 years old. So we were exploring these concepts even back then. I think, there's a line in the song, or the second verse is, we've got boxes for houses and boxes on wheels that take us to work in a box made of steel, so that we can buy a box dinner for two, watching the box that brings us the bad news. Which I think that last sentence of the verse really resonated with the times now. Of course, it did back then as well, but it just feels much more ripe right now. And we wanted to make people maybe think about how they are either living in their bubble of their house and their car and their job, and maybe retreating, and then also how we need to kind of be more conscious and stay connected to the things that are actually important. So,
I think it's timely for another reason. Like, see, you mentioned all these things. You still haven't mentioned the mobile phone, which is the most pervasive box in history. Like my children, I gave them cell phones. One of them's 13, and that little box, they go from the box of their school, they're walking home, and I'm like, oh. And like it is true. It is true. We go from one to another, but I honestly, I think we don't think about it. We're on like autopilot. We just, it's not, we're not connecting. We're literally just existing. And a lot of that is out of necessity, but to your point, we need to balance that.
Well, I think that the thing is that, what information is the box delivering, right? And so we're holding a square, literally, we're holding a rectangle, it's a box, but it's not metaphorical. It divides us up into smaller boxes. We wind up in political boxes and gender boxes and race boxes and music boxes and religious boxes. And it all coming through this little box, and it has not freed us at all. There's so many quotes about when the internet first got started, forward-thinking people were going, this is going to free the world because now all information is available to you, right? It's done the opposite. It's made it nearly impossible to actually get real information. All we get is opinion, and it's a box that's caused us to be even more compartmentalized.
Wow. No, this is deep. I hadn't thought about it that way, but this is absolutely deep. And I love this. Are you now? You said you're more of an Americana duo. Like, what makes something Americana? Obviously, that's you pay. There's some crossover here in the Venn diagram of music and all genres, right?
Sure. That's a great question, because again, we put ourselves in boxes of labels. Are you
Yeah,
country?
right.
Are you
Good
Americana?
point.
Are you jazz? Are you rap? Are you whatever? And, you know, the notion of Americana music is more rootsy, more acoustic. If you listen to our song boxes, it has those elements to it. It's not like a mainstream country song that you would hear on mainstream country radio. It doesn't have any of those elements in it. And it was interesting, my mom listened to the song. She's like, "Oh, your new song, you sound really country on it." And I'm like, yeah. I mean, I guess, to someone who's just in a sort of very generic 30,000 foot view of the world, you listen to boxes and you might say, "Oh, it sounds like a country song." But there's so many like specific lanes and niches of these sort of general words that we box ourselves in about. And, so I think that's what really defines Americana is the rootsy, honest, authentic instrumentation, nature of the guitar,
traditional,
fiddle,
a lot of traditional
banjo,
instrumentation. It's also lyric driven
and harmony,
and story driven.
Yeah.
Americana is really now, I think, the home to what we would call a traditional singer-songwriter. Or even a traditional song-oriented classic rock band. Mm-hmm. Like right now, if the Eagles came out, they would be an Americana band.
Right.
No, that's interesting. That's very true. I want to talk about Laurel Canyon. I didn't really know about the 70s culture of Laurel Canyon much until I watched Daisy Jones and the Six, which I know is terrible. I know I should have been like more well versed. But you, Anna, and Monty, like Troubadour 77 is inspired by that, but also just that's a generally inspiring vibe era. Tell me about that. Like, what is it about that mood?
Yeah, I mean, there was something going on back in that canyon, in that time, that was, when you really look at it in the course of history, it was very short-lived, late 60s, early 70s. I don't know if there was something in the water, the air, but there was an energy that was alive there. And it called to artistic troubadours, poets and artists, visual, all kinds of creative people. And they convened in this little canyon of Laurel Canyon because it was affordable. And it was just above the Hollywood Strip and the Sunset Strip, so they could live in what felt like the country and go down on Friday, Saturday night, and the weekend and play at the Roxy and play at the Troubadour and play their music. And they created a real movement. They were not afraid to talk about social issues in their songs. Mm-hmm. They were very, anti-war. The Vietnam War was going on, so they had a culture and a counterculture that was really, really embodied in that, and it came through in the music. And so I think that's what made it so special. I think it's what makes the music, and continues to make that music from that era resonate and have an ageless and a timeless piece about it, because it was very human. And the human condition, even though it evolves, it's pretty much the same as it is now, as it was back then, as it was back in the 1500s.
It always was.
I mean, they really got to what really mattered, and I think that's what resonates with us. And we're just trying to do the same thing, in the songs that we write.
Yeah, absolutely. So is Troubadour 77? Is there more recording in the future? Tour? What's next?
Yeah, sure. I think that there'll be more recording from us. Again, we now do it at the rhythm that pleases us, and we don't dance to the tune of the industry anymore or any sort of a schedule. So there are some things in the can, that we could put out tomorrow. We could put out a song a day for the next month. And I don't know. We'll just see. We have a lot of irons in the fire. We do a lot of things that aren't Troubadour 77 that are still all music and songwriting based. And also I'm toying around with what does retirement look like for someone that's an artist and is in the music business. I think it's a given that when you are us and you are one of us, that you don't ever quit necessarily, but you do completely change the circumstances and the leverage and the relationship to your art and to commerce. And and so that's a real place for both of us right now to kind of see, how that shakes out over the next season.
No, absolutely. Are you also, do you have another home? Do you also live in Nashville too, or you split your time,
do.
right? Or okay.
Yeah,
right.
we have a place in Nashville, so we pop in there, and we're out here in the winter in Colorado enjoying the snow that's finally coming.
Nice.
And we also have a place in Florida, in the Florida Keys, so we spend a little time down there. We're hopefully going to be playing the Key West Songwriter Festival that's coming up in May. That's always fun because it's in a version of one of our backyards, and we do a wonderful festival out here that we play, the Rocky Mountain Music Series here in Colorado that we play. So a few fun dates coming up, and we've got Tin Pan South. We're playing Tin Pan South in Nashville at the end of March. That's another great songwriter music festival that happens every year. I think it's the 30th year, this year. So that's fun. So we just kind of pop around at these different locations. And
you went to Sundance recently.
We did. We were Sundancing.
You want to talk about there or no, not yet?
Anything you want to talk about, Anna?
I can't get into all of it on this session because I think it's its own session. So hopefully we can do that in the future. But I will do a little teaser, that I am making a music documentary style biopic film that is actually tangent and set in Laurel Canyon. So it runs tangent to all the things that we're doing musically as well. That just visits a lot of really wonderful concepts inspired by original music, but it has a little bit of soul journeying, time travel, magical thinking, all rolled into one to tell a story about seeking true love, soulmates, and exploring the what ifs that if your life went in a different way, where would you maybe have wound up. So it's a really been a wonderful experience for me. And we went to Sundance this year. It was the last year in Utah, and now it's moving to Colorado. So it's also coming to our backyard.
Wow, it's the stars are all lining up. I was just gonna say, since if you still are writing songs, I'm working on a time travel soulmate novel, and I'm like, can you write a song for my novel? But we'll see. So it's just good to know.
I think that could be arranged. I may even have one that already exists because I really
absolutely. I want to leave with this. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Saying I have a song that I think that would be perfect for it that I wrote in 2045.
100%. I need it to be in the year 2200, but we can make adjustments.
Okay.
So I always like to give Rockmommy readers and listeners some tangible advice. I mean, some of them are more, some of them are less successful than each other. What is your advice given the way the landscape has changed for someone who wants to sell a song to an artist, write a song that makes it on The Bachelorette? What should they do? Join ASCAP? How do they keep themselves sane? And what is their best option?
I can speak to that because I've done this for a living since 1979. Don't do the math. You'll never be sane, so give that goal up. I think that you have to look at what feels like an overwhelming uphill battle and just see the next step that's in front of you. And in 2026, use the tools that have been given to you at your disposal. Use the low entry point level. There is no barrier to entry anymore to making great music. You can do it on GarageBand. You can do it in Pro Tools. You can sit in front of your iPhone camera and play a song on an acoustic guitar and get 5 million views. You can plug your song into Suno and AI will make you a record. Use the tools that are available, to you now, and take bite-sized pieces out of the industry. You cannot take on the whole industry. You could have when there was a Laurel Canyon, when there was a 90s country music road, when you were 80s and you lived in Compton, when you were in Seattle in 1994. Those things do not exist anymore. So the good news is that you can live in Sheboygan.
I love that word.
Yeah. And you can influence the world, and millions of people can see your music.
Yeah.
And with a couple of emails and a text, you can find someone whose job is placing songs in The Bachelor and other places, and you only have to send them a link to your song. And you could have a song on television that pays you something and never even physically meet the people that you're working with. And that's a really cool thing.
That's a really good silver lining, and that's a positive note to leave it on, for sure. It's harder to cut through the noise, but in many ways it's easier. So,
yeah.
Thank you. And it was a pleasure doing this. I really just want to say thank you, Anna, Monty. You guys are like 2 of my favorite cousins. I know I have 100, but you actually are in the top 5.
Well, likewise.
I'm excited about boxes, and and everyone who is listening to this, please follow Troubadour 77 on all of the things and stay tuned for more.